I, 23M, met my ex, let's call her Ellie, 21F, 3 years ago when we both lived on campus at university. After a few months, we got together, and for the most part, had a very happy relationship. The only issue we ever had was that my ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor, and she has been open with her family that she does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it but accepted that she has to make her own choices on that. Nevertheless, I think some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I grew up in a different religion but was never very serious about it and am no longer religious. She told me very early on that she was pure, meaning she never did it with a guy before, and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons, as I mentioned she isn't religious, but she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other intimate things, just never smashed. Personally, I never had much luck with girls growing up, and going into the relationship, I was going in as a guy who has never smashed, and to this day, I still haven't. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that every guy I knew was doing the deed with their girlfriend but I wasn't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have a full intimate relationship, though of course, I never pressured her about it. I felt that while I was at university and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year, while I was in my last year of classes and she was working in her first professional job, she was talking a lot about all these successful guys she met at work, and it made me feel lesser as a person because I was still a broke university student. Coupled with her still not wanting a full intimate relationship, it made those resentful feelings grow stronger. We had some arguments about it, and after a while, I felt that I should end the relationship as we wanted different things and our lives were on different paths. It was awful, she was crying a lot, and I felt terrible afterwards. Anyway, it has been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for most of that time, and I have not been involved with anyone else as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I have finally finished university and I am about to start my first professional job, and she recently got in touch again and asked to meet up. I was hesitant but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months, that she thinks she wants to get back together and is open to having a more intimate relationship now. I asked her, why now? What changed? And she looked uncomfortable. After a little prying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up, which of course was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. She said he persisted with her until she started smashing with him, and she ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual but that the guy was very persistent with her. I was gutted. I couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years but was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only been seeing a short time. I asked if the reason she was open to having a more intimate relationship now is because she wasn't pure like she had previously described, and she said yes. To that, I asked her to give me some space so I could process all of this. I'm conflicted. I have missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her, but at the same time, it feels like I was strung along for years. It's hard to put my finger on why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have the relationship I was looking for with her, but I feel awful about this entire thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. Edit. She's not some evil manipulative villain, at all. I would never have been with anyone like that. She's still the funny, smart, charming, beautiful girl I always knew, and any guy would be lucky to have her. I would be too, if I could handle the baggage here, but I'm thinking I probably can't, and a clean break is the way to go. Though she may regret the relationship with the other man, it's not my business as she was a single woman and we were broken up. I wasn't ever expecting to hear from her again, really, this whole situation is very surprising to me. Update 1. Last weekend, I was on a weekend camping trip with my friends, completely removed from technology. It was so nice to be in nature, to do some bushwalks with friends and decompress. It felt good to talk about the Ellie situation with my mates around the campfire. Most of them knew Ellie pretty well from our years together, and they had a range of views, just like the commenters on my previous post. One great question a friend had was whether or not I would have ever decided to reach out to take Ellie back if she never reached out to me first, and the answer is no. That made it so obvious to me, and helped cut through a lot of the confusion going on. I was being too passive in this situation and needed to do what I wanted, not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on the way home, I had decided not to get back together with her, but that was a moot point anyway. When I was driving home and got a mobile signal again, the network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together, and that she's back with Tim, the older coworker. She also texted that the thing with Tim is more serious than she let on previously. If you remember, she called it a short-term fling before. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship, and she asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was not happy, so I just texted back no. Not very mature of me, but I wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this, and I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me, but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying, Tim and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you, and finally, I'm sorry. When I got home, I was an idiot and let my curiosity get the better of me. I looked up Tim online. His given name, not the placeholder I'm using as Tim, is uncommon, so it wasn't hard to find. I found him on LinkedIn, which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections, and he works at the same firm, so I was confident it's him. He's a director at their firm, and he also has pictures on Instagram, lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive-looking car. A few photos of him with Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. I guess that confirms it was serious. He wouldn't have public photos with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend, and I'm not in competition with Tim, so I won't do that again. My ego's bruised enough already. I have been living a very frugal life my entire time at university, so I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth, but that's another problem for me to sort out one day. Anyway, all that was on Sunday, and on Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knows I don't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped I would let her explain herself, clear the air, then I'd never see her again if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events but figured I might at least get a clearer idea of what's going on. It was a long, heavy conversation over 4 hours, but here's the gist as I remember it. When we broke up, she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the entire time, but when I ended it, we agreed to keep apart and heal. In September, she met Tim at work. He manages a different team, she doesn't work for him. She said he was very charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other, and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound but felt so much better getting his attention that she went along with it. After dating for a while, she developed feelings for him, and that later led to a more intimate relationship. It wasn't a fling, and she dated him for a while beforehand. I asked whether he had pressured her into smashing, since last time she said he was very persistent with it, and she said she was just trying not to upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to smash with Tim, then I wouldn't think as badly of her. So it was just a story to spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried she had been forced to do so. She looked shocked at that and said no way, she was actually the one who initiated it. I said, although I don't like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was doing it, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult, and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said something like, I thought you must hate me now. I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her purity commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided that it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid, and it was messing with the life she wants now. So by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she had already decided she was ready to go further with the right person. I asked about her dad, and she just said, he doesn't need to know. I asked about why she asked to get back together. Tim is older, she told me he's 32, and has been at the firm for 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging, and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work, several of them were young graduate employees just like Ellie. The rumor around the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to get used by him. She was horrified and accused him of using her. An argument ensued and she told him it was over. Soon after that, she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to a more intimate relationship, but my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out, and she decided to give it another chance. She tried to call me, but they went to voicemail since I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So I guess that's settled. I don't want her back, and she's in a relationship, so she doesn't want me back either. She hoped we could be friendly if we ever see each other again, but she wants to keep out of contact out of respect for her relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working, which is fair enough. She gave me a hug, thanked me for understanding, and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in her relationship drama. I would have preferred she hadn't, but at least it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time out to consider things, as it could have been very messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all this. I still care for her despite recent events. It seems like she is dealing with a lot of complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she will be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love, and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. But I am clear now that I don't want her back. She is my past, and I want to look forward. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday, and I'll be earning much better money. I'm open to finding someone new, but that is way down my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Edit. Okay, you've all convinced me. Today I blocked Ellie on everything. Since we agreed not to be in touch again, that shouldn't matter, but if she doesn't stick to that agreement, then it won't be easy for her to contact me again. I thought it was a petty thing to block someone, but in this case, you've convinced me that it's a way to take control of the situation. With luck, I won't hear from her again, and if I do, like if she knocks on the door, I'll remind her of our agreement and shut her off. Time to stop being passive and take charge of my life, a life Ellie will not be part of.